802.1x succeeds because its roles cleanly separate duties that were once blurred. The supplicant is the device or user agent that proves identity. The authenticator is the edge switch port or wireless access point that relays the conversation. And the authentication server is the decision brain, almost always a remote authentication dial-in user service (RADIS) platform. The protocol wrapper is Extensible Authentication Protocol (EAP), and the methods matter for security under phishing pressure. EAP-TLS uses certificates on the client and the server, resists credential theft, and pairs well with machine trust and user trust in managed fleets. Protected EAP, PEAP, with inner password schemes can be acceptable with strong policies and device trust. But your North Star should be certificate-based EAP wherever feasible, because there is nothing reusable for an attacker to phish.
Directory integration is where least privilege becomes routine instead of aspirational. Group memberships in your directory system, whether Active Directory or another store, carry the meaning of roles, device classes, and maintenance windows. RADIUS consumes those attributes to assign production, contractor, or remediation segments, and TACAS Plus consumes them to assign command sets and privilege levels. A clean model avoids hard-coding usernames or device lists in network gear and instead drives everything from group membership, with change approvals tracked in the directory's audit trail. When a person changes teams or a contractor leaves, access adjusts automatically and command scopes collapse without a special project, which is how least privilege should feel on a Tuesday afternoon.
Certificate enrollment is the backbone of strong EAP choices and of Mutual Transport Layer Security (MTLS) for administrators. Issue machine and user certificates from a managed public key infrastructure (PKI) with automated enrollment and renewal. Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol (SCEP) and Automated Certificate Management Environment (ACME) are common rails that reduce human handling and keep lifetimes short without outages. Revocation must be real, so publish Online Certificate Status Protocol (OCSP) or certificate revocation lists that your infrastructure actually checks, and monitor for expired or mismatched chains. When certificates roll over, the access experience should degrade gracefully rather than fail abruptly, and your logs should show clean renewal events tied to policy and device identity. Time behavior deserves as much attention as cryptography. Supplicant timers, authenticator reauthentication intervals, and authentication server retries all influence whether access fails safely or falls back to a permissive mode during an outage. Tune timeouts so that transient packet loss does not bounce compliant users, but ensure that unresolved decisions do not leave ports in an open state. Fail closed should be the default for production segments, with a controlled maintenance bypass that is explicit, time-boxed, and logged with owner and reason. Test link flaps, server restarts, and packet loss while watching both user experience and switch or controller logs so you know which side of the line you occupy when things are shaky. Posture assessment closes the loop between identity and hygiene. Network Access Control (NAC) checks confirm patch levels, endpoint protection status, and disk encryption presence before granting production access, and they recheck on a schedule or event to catch drift. Non-compliant devices should land in a remediation segment with access only to update services and help portals, while compliant devices return to production with attested posture metadata. Keep the rules crisp and few. Choose attributes you can verify without fragile agent gymnastics, and record the decision with the attributes observed. When regulators or customers ask how you prevented risky endpoints from joining sensitive networks, the posture log answers clearly with who, what, when, and why. Authentication, authorization, and accounting (AAA) servers and their proxies deserve hardening that mirrors the stakes of their decisions. Protect management APIs and administrative consoles with Mutual Transport Layer Security (MTLS), enforce strong cipher suites, and limit administrative access to segmented management networks behind jump hosts. Version changes and policy edits must be peer-reviewed, approved, and committed with signatures, or at least durable change tickets, so that you can reconstruct intent after an incident. Backups of configurations, keys, and policies should be encrypted and tested for recovery, because losing an AAA brain during an outage turns a problem into a crisis. Treat these systems as crown jewels: controlled administrators, strong logging, reliable time, and documented dependencies. Monitoring closes the loop by converting raw events into actionable signals. Watch for authentication failures that cluster by device, by user, or by time window, because those clusters separate fat fingers from misuse. Track device flaps where ports bounce in ways that suggest spoofing or hardware problems. And alert on unusual administrator commands, especially those that alter interface states, routing, or authentication configuration. Correlate RADIUS accounting starts and stops with switch logs and wireless controller events, so you can narrate a full story quickly. The goal is not a wall of red, but a small set of high-fidelity notifications that reliably precede impact and guide the first containment move. Every environment accumulates pitfalls that must be named and fixed without delay. Shared administrative accounts erase attribution and invite unsafe password handling. Replace them with named identities, short-lived elevation, and TACACS plus command scopes. Password Authentication Protocol, PAP, and unencrypted binds leak credentials by design. Disable them and move to transport layer security protected methods. Weak EAP choices that depend on passwords without device trust fold quickly under phishing. Prefer certificate-based EAP, enroll machines early, and make exceptions rare and time-bounded. Each of these pitfalls has a clean, immediate remedy that you can implement and verify this week, and the evidence should update the same day in your logs and inventories. To see the system in motion, consider a scenario on a wired port in a shared workspace. A rogue device is plugged into an open jack and attempts to speak. The authenticator initiates 802.1x, and the device cannot present a valid certificate or group attribute. Policy returns a quarantine assignment, the port remains isolated, and an alert routes to operations with the switch, port, and MAC address. Moments later, a compliant laptop with an enrolled certificate connects to the same jack. The supplicant completes EAP-TLS, Radius returns the production VLAN and session attributes, and the user reaches their tools in seconds. The logs show two contiguous stories, one denied with reason codes and one granted with posture and identity, and both are easy to explain to a reviewer. Strong programs behave well under failure, so stage a focused test of fail-closed and bypass behavior in a low-risk segment. Simulate loss of the authentication server and observe whether production ports remain locked, whether the maintenance bypass requires explicit action, and whether all of these steps are logged with accurate times. Observe the user experience for compliant devices and confirm that reconnects are prompt when service returns without leaving ports permissive. Record timer values, retries, and fallbacks used by switches and controllers and ensure the runbook matches observed behavior. When a real outage arrives, you will already know how the network fails and how quickly it recovers, which replaces panic with a short sequence of rehearsed steps. Do not let certificates become a hidden drift source. Audit the fleet for expiring machine and user certificates. Confirm that Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol, SCEP, or Automated Certificate Management Environment, ACME, renewals are working. And verify that Online Certificate Status Protocol, OCSP, or revocation lists are reachable from required places. Pay special attention to guest and contractor lifetimes so that credentials do not linger after people depart. Tie certificate issuance to directory group changes so that mistrusted devices lose entitlements immediately. Your evidence should be a clean report of active certificates by template and expiration, a sample of recent renewals, and a record of revocations tied to tickets. Finally, bind all of this to owners and cadence so it persists. Assign responsibility for RADIUS policy, TACACS plus command sets, certificate profiles, switch templates, and wireless controller baselines, and require a monthly attestation that nothing drifted. Require peer review on every change that affects authentication paths, and keep a short backlog of improvements rather than a sprawling wish list. Small, steady corrections, tightening an attribute map, shortening a certificate lifetime, refining a command scope, compound into a posture that is both safer and easier to operate. When people join, change roles, or leave, the network follows suit automatically, which is the quiet proof that your gatekeepers are doing their job. We will close by directing a short sequence of operational steps that convert today's material into sustained practice. Run a focused policy review to ensure directory groups map cleanly to network segments and command scopes, and fix any one-off exceptions that bypass the model. Execute a certificate audit to confirm enrollment, renewal, and revocation behave as designed across wired and wireless flows, and document the few cases where PEAP remains with a plan to migrate. In a low-risk area, perform a fail-close test with declared observers and capture the exact behavior of timers, retries, and bypasses. Then tune until the result matches your intent. When those 3 moves are done, your 802.1x, Radius, and TACACS Plus services will function as disciplined gatekeepers rather than brittle conveniences.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.